Hello everybody. Let's talk about mental health recovery and my own mental health recovery. Now, 2 years ago I was in a right state. My marriage ended. The family closest to me let me down. I had nowhere to turn. I couldn't update my documents because Boris had closed everywhere due to COVID. So I was a stranger in my own country, unable to work or rent because of rules introduced to keep immigrants out. And I'm not an immigrant. I'm a natural born and bred Brit. So none of that should have affected me because I'd worked hard for my family. I'd been there for them, and then when I needed them, they weren't there for me. My country wasn't there for me. I ended up relying on the help of strangers, and it was very, very traumatic because I'd bent over backwards for everybody. I'd helped everybody, and then got burnt for it. So I came away with lots of lessons. And I also came away with a few new mental health issues and traumas because of it, which I had to deal with, and that's what we're talking about today. Now, the first battle I faced was recognising myself in the morning, looking in the mirror and going, that is me. Because if I'd gone down the revenge route, taken the dark path and tried to punish people I'd deemed had wronged me, then I would have woke up in the morning, the person in my mirror might as well have been Darth Vader because it wouldn't have been me. So I decided early on, right, that whilst I was going to speak my mind, I wasn't going to take that dark path. Because speaking my mind is what I do, right? I do these days anyway. Says, and that path I took allowed me to recognise who I was. So I stayed true to myself. That was the first lesson. I stayed true to myself. I didn't let the actions of others change who I was. The words leopards don't change their spots might be a derogatory term used to describe bad people, but it's true of us all. We do not change who we are. We tend to be true to ourselves. And one of the first lessons you have to learn is if you are true to yourself, you do not need to defend who you are because everybody will know who you are. They will know what kind of spots you have. And when people say you've got different spots, nobody's going to believe them. In fact, people are going to say, they're lying about you. They said this about you, and the person's going to earn a reputation of their own. They're going to earn some spots of their own, and everybody's going to recognise those spots as the liars' spots. So you do not need to defend yourself again if you're being true to yourself. Because if you're being true to yourself, then you've accepted who you are, and any criticism about that person is going to be fair. So you do not need to defend yourself. And this is one of the worries that people have in these dark times is people say bad things. Don't worry. You do not need to open your mouth. So that's the second lesson. Now, as you go through, through life, dealing with what ifs and what if they said this and what if they did that and stuff, you find yourself stressing out. You worry, that what if this happened? What if they did that? And you get ill. You become, your mental health problems start becoming worse. You become paranoid and it compounds the mistake. Now, I found myself at work, working nights alone, all night, right, out in the open, and I could conjure up all kinds of fantasies doing this what ifs. And I learned if I wanted to be sane in the morning when the shift ended, I had to stop doing that. I had to stop going through what ifs. So I did. I immediately stopped these what ifs, and that was about 9 months ago when I finally realised that. And 9 months later, I think I'm pretty much recovered. So these three or four things actually helped me get out of that trauma and bounce back. I've now got normal relationships with everybody in my life. I still think to myself, that it is terrible, what happened to some members of my family, and it really shouldn't have done. But that's on the mother. The mother chose to make the father, kick the father out of their life and made sure the father had very little to do with his kids. And the kids suffered because of it. Right? Nothing I can do about that. I have to live with the consequences of her actions. I've been over backwards for my kids. It's one of the reasons why I ended up in a mental state in the first place. It was worry. I was worried sick. But knowing what they've done, to my kids, and knowing how my kids are now, and having tried really hard to make it work, right? I had to accept, this is the final thing, I had to accept the fact that that relationship was destroyed by them over decades ago. And I'd already accepted that once, and then one of them reached out to me, and I thought I'd try, and it brought it all flooding back, right? So I've come to the conclusion now that that side of my life is all about causing daddy pain. And I reached out to them one more time and had my hand slapped away. So now, because I didn't realise I was doing this, right, that was a case of like, if they shook their hand, I'd try it one more time. If they slapped it away, I could walk away knowing I'd done my best. And that there brings with a sense of relief. You wouldn't believe. It's like having a weight lifted from your shoulders. You know, you just walk away from the whole nightmare that took me down to that state in the first place. I just think they're on their own now. I'm free of that nonsense. I'm free of that trauma that the mum inflicted on everybody, because she did. Even when I was with her, she caused me a few mental health issues back in the day. So did the rest of her family. But anyway, it was very hard to deal with back then. It's really hard to deal with in 2020. So yeah, being able to face that, reach out one more time, was a liberating experience. And it's all of these things have allowed me to come out of the other side. Because sometimes you've got to be a nice guy and try, just so you can get rid of your own regret. You get rid of your own regret by trying one more time. It's like I said, you can apologise, but the other person doesn't have to accept it. But the fact that if you mean your apology, if you say, I am genuinely sorry, and you mean it, it doesn't matter if they accept it. You've tried. You can then walk away. They're the ones that have to go, oh, well, he's not going to apologise again, is he? Right? Says, I'm not accepting that. They're the one with a traumatic lifestyle that's going to lead them to a mental health problem. You're the one that tried, and now you walk away happy in the knowledge you did do the right thing. This is what doing the right thing is about. It makes you feel better to know you corrected a mistake. Because an apology should be about, yes, I'm sorry that happened, I won't do it again. That's what an apology means. So if you say sorry and you mean those things, you walk away knowing you did the right thing, even if the other person doesn't do the right thing in response to it. So yeah, it all adds up anyway. Now I'm in a decent place, you know, in my life. I've got my life back in order. I'm quite comfortable with who I am. I'm not really missing anybody anymore. I don't feel guilty about anything, because quite frankly, I work my ass off for those people in my life. And now I know that when people are that helpful, we tend to get abused and used. So I have a different philosophy now. I'll help people, but when they start taking the piss, I will slap them down so hard they will think they were born on their knees. And I've done that a few times to people at work who I've helped, and then they've started to take the fucking piss. So now they know, right, what they lose. Because if they start taking the piss, that help stops. So if they want me to be my usual helpful self, they have to start thinking of me, or not just have me think of them. And that was another mental health trauma, because me bending over backwards for people laid me wide open to all kinds of abuse. And over the years, every single person in my family has done that to me at some point. Well, not every single person, but quite a few of them have done it to me at some point. They made me out to be the bad guy for doing all the work. So anyway, yeah, now I slap them down hard. I will not put up with people's bullshit. And I think that's quite an important thing for keeping yourself on the straight and straight and narrow. I think if you can be honest with people, then you'll be far better off for it. The trick is though, don't hold a grudge. You hold a grudge, then you're basically filling up your mental health basket again. Don't hold a grudge. Say what you have to say, and then get on with your life. Don't have it like a millstone around your neck. Just because someone pissed you off once doesn't mean that it's a life sentence. And remember this, here's another tip actually, it's a good one. Everybody's got faults, right? For instance, right, I lent some money to a guy, I didn't get it back. I could have hated him for life, or I could have accepted the fact that he's no good with money, and then not lend him any money again. I chose the latter path. We're friends now. We have a laugh together, right? And I don't lend him money, so that problem never comes up. This is how you should approach people. When you know a person has issues, don't put yourself in a position where their issues become a problem. Because then normally people outside of those issues can be quite good. If you've got a thief, you might never want to let them in your house. That might be how you'd solve that. A thief that's a friend, that's an interesting concept. But anyway, yeah. Just identify what's wrong with people and then make sure you avoid that problem. And you can still get along with them. You don't have to be deadly enemies with that person. And you avoid a health issue. But me, I'm in a good place now. I know where I'm going. I'm happy with who I am. And I think, thinking things through logically, because I am a very logical person, has allowed me to approach things, know when I need to reach out in order to get rid of baggage, know when I have to speak out, and it's allowed me to get now into this front of this camera and say, I'm feeling much better. See you in the next one.